You are listening to Alchemizing Judgment, a guide back to love, written by Abigail Gazda, narrated by Abigail Gazda. Chapter 9, Integration. As we begin to wrap up the integrity pillar, I would like to name the tool that I have been indirectly teaching you throughout this pillar: integration. True integration is about the alchemy of healing. When it comes to the healing work, integrating your shadow and trauma is to include it in your identity instead of suppress or deny it. This doesn't eliminate the memory. It alchemizes the energy charge of the memory from triggering and disempowering to not having a charge at all. I want to share the absolute blessing that integration work is and what it can make available for yourself and your life. When we take an honest look inward and locate the parts of us we have not seen or accepted, we are given a new choice. Integration is choosing to include every facet of ourselves in our life, full self-acceptance. This is a whole and complete expression of yourself as an energetic being having a human experience. If you think about all the versions of you, you can only go as far as the one you left behind. If there is a part of you that you refuse to accept, then you have separated yourself into different identities, and that rejected part will hold you back. You cannot experience full liberation unless you liberate the full you. Throughout this book, we have created a lot of awareness about the many facets of your being. Another aspect of integration is applying all of your new awareness directly to your life. This is a true shift from knowledge to wisdom, and knowing to owning. This means embedding the truths you have discovered into your being to reach peace, not just going through the motions because you are chasing a desired external result. Performative spirituality is about as satisfying as having a classic car with no engine. Sure, it looks great in the driveway, but the rubber never hits the road. Eventually, it's just another thing to polish without getting to enjoy the fruits of your labor. A great example of this is when people decide to become spiritual and buy books on gemstones and essential oils. They start doing what they believe meditation and journaling is. They start listening to motivational speakers, but the words are lost on them. They start attending retreats, seminars, workshops, and go into debt doing so. Then they start walking, talking, dressing, and acting like the other folks they see there. Listen, friend, I am all about acting as if you already have the life you want. But if you do not take this integrity pillar seriously, you will find yourself feeling further away from your desires than when you started, because you will be struggling with imposter syndrome. You cannot add abundance on top of scarcity. You must remove scarcity to make room for abundance. You must learn to transmute scarcity into grief. Then you process grief into belief. And from belief, you have access to possibility. Abundance lives in possibility. If you are not willing to bridge that gap one plank at a time, you will find yourself spiraling in self-doubt of your newfound spirituality. The bridge is the stages of transformation: self-discovery, self-development, self-mastery, and transcendence. You must do the inner work of transformation to have the skills of alchemizing any and all judgment. This is actually less work than performative spirituality. Many people want to gloss over their BS and pretend they're fine, but I want to tell you a secret that you probably didn't know that you already know. Pretending is utterly exhausting. Pretending to be happy, healthy, wealthy, abundant, put together, satisfied, and in love is some of the hardest work you could be doing. All of this pretending to avoid admitting you are struggling is slowly stealing all of your power. Attempting to acquire abundance to negate a scarcity mindset is as effective as putting icing on a mud pie. No bueno, compadre. You must clear your head and heart space, and the universe will happily take care of the rest and provide countless blessings. I will teach you how to receive them in the upcoming alignment pillar. Since we spent the last chapter discussing completion, I would like to share the integration lesson with forgiveness. This can get messy because we think we can just get over it or forgive and forget, but I am sure you already know that is not necessarily the case. We can't really grasp why we have completed something or written someone off and cut them out of our life, and yet still manifest people and circumstances that pour salt in the same wound. Trigger warning. I have specifically chosen to use the most widely relatable trigger that people are chained to for life if they cannot learn effective completion, forgiveness, and integration: rape, molestation, and/or sexual abuse of any sort. I have worked with and supported hundreds of people through the process of healing this wound and becoming thriving individuals. This is a wound that can leave a lifelong scar and affects countless relationships, experiences, opportunities, and overall well-being of a person. Sexual trauma is rampant in humanity, and you are always one degree away from a case, if you are not that case. I invite you to open up your heart and mind to that fact and practice sensitivity about those around you who may be affected by this experience. If you are reading this and feeling that re-trigger, breathe. I am going to hand you a key to your freedom right now, so just read slowly and take small breathing breaks if it supports you. I have already said it in this book. Every action is a holy interaction. This can be an offensive statement in this context, I know. Just keep reading. There are no mistakes in this universe. The source of every single thing in existence is love. Does it always make sense to us? Absolutely not. Does it seem right or fair? Hell no. Does it seem grotesque and inhumane? Most definitely. And there are no mistakes. There is a divine order to everything happening. The truth about these situations is that they can be so painful in the moment and on such a personal level that we cannot expand our consciousness beyond the pain to see a big picture. We cannot imagine how or why this plays out on a much larger scale, and honestly, many never do find out why because they never take on authentic healing, forgiveness, and integration. They stay stuck in grief because they never transmute the judgment. If you are listening to this and have directly been assaulted, it is important to state that you have every right to have every thought, feeling, and reaction you have to your experience, even to what you are listening to right now. Stay in it. Feel everything fully, because it is through processing that you will be granted your freedom. You are the only person on this entire planet that can set yourself free from this struggle. Your trauma is not your fault, and it is your responsibility to heal it. You get to create your internal state of peace, gratitude, bliss, and joy. Completion is about compassion, and I am inviting you to find compassion for your trauma and those who played a role in it. I mentioned that many never reach completion because they never process and transmute the judgment. It can be incredibly painful. There may be a lot of blame and judgment for the situation and those involved. This can include resentment of the predator or a friend or family member we felt neglected or betrayed by. We can blame ourselves or the circumstances. We may find fault in a situation we put ourselves in that compromised our safety, discernment, or decision-making abilities, and hold ourselves and others in contempt for all the pain we have experienced since. This can cause layers of pain and suffering that goes on for years or decades. To take on releasing this pain, completion will look like exploring it. When I work with clients, I carefully work with them on recalling the experience, reminding them that they are currently safe in our conversation and that there is no threat at the moment. I make it safe to navigate the memory, and we take a deep look at the pain it caused. We spend time observing the wound like two doctors hovering over a patient on an operating table. We identify the root cause and we tend to it. We treat the wound. In this example, we examine the trust issues, the innocence taken, the terror, the shame and guilt, the helplessness, and the feeling of irreversible damage done. Many more thoughts, feelings, and body sensations come up as we do the work, and we move through the process together. We don't rush through this procedure. We carefully discuss each aspect of the wound and take on the healing work. To revisit this experience can be terrifying, upsetting, disruptive, and more. Essentially, that is the goal. The objective is to disrupt this memory as to remove it. Without ever tending to this wound effectively, it exists lodged in the energetic body and has physical, mental, and emotional symptoms. It can be a sensitive wound, like operating on the spine, but we proceed nonetheless. The reason anyone agrees to this procedure is because living with the symptoms has become more painful than dealing with it. If the operation means liberation, the client will take on this work no matter how uncomfortable it may seem. I have witnessed this liberation occur right before my very eyes. It is the most remarkable transformation to witness a beautiful human heal the pain of this trauma. Completion, healing, and integration is not complete until you are able to arrive at an understanding that this occurrence was for you. Again, that never makes it right or fair by any means. This is not a way to justify this experience. It is a means of empowering you past your pain. The pain is not where you are meant to stop or stay. Pain of any kind is meant to take us somewhere, to teach us something, and to prepare us for the most unimaginable task of our unique leadership. If you have experienced this type of trauma, you have a unique healing process to go through, and this is important because where we are in the evolution of humanity, there will be more of this to occur. I would never wish this pain on anyone, and from what I can see in today's world is that we are awakening to exactly how prevalent such crimes against humanity are. If people stayed quiet and suffered in silence, we would never be able to make a dent in healing this collective wound, and we are. We are doing our best to raise the collective frequency to more collaboration, community, and connection. It will take those who have suffered trauma to alchemize their pain into purpose and take charge to shift the paradigm of this plague. I invite you to consider that you agreed to this life before you came here. Imagine that just before selecting the particular life circumstance to teach you the soul lessons of this round on Earth, you saw the agenda items for your life and the cost of entry was agreeing to what was on that list. You chose the day, time, location, gender, even if you have shifted that in this plane, orientations, family, lessons, and more. You agreed to it all because you are an energetic being having a human experience. This skin bag of bones is a vehicle for your soul to play in this dimension. I do not say that to disrespect the body, but to provide you with some perspective that anything can happen to this body, and it will not affect your soul if you transcend the human experience. You can suffer trauma, lose limbs, organs can malfunction, be disfigured, etc., and you can still live a full life. We even see many examples of this from birth. People who are born with a disability, illness, or deformation often live fuller lives than able-bodied people, and I find that particularly fascinating. I will never forget growing up with my cousin Luke, who was born with epidermolysis bullosa. It is a rare skin condition that causes fragile, blistering skin due to even minor rubbing, touch, or injury. It affected him internally and externally, resulting in esophageal deterioration and multiple surgeries. Luke was born this way. Doctors told his parents he wouldn't live past 3 months, then 3 years. His mom, a nurse, left her work and became Luke's full-time nurse. He required an extensive daily routine of cleansing wounds and changing bandages, and this young man had every reason to not live a full life or to enjoy the one he was given. Believe me when I say, Luco, as we called him in the family, was the most grateful human being I have ever known. Sure, he had days he didn't feel well, but I specifically remember his commentary about how cool the sky looked and how stoked he was to get to the ocean in his balloon tire wheelchair gifted to him by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Luke became one of the ambassador children for epidermolysis bullosa, met celebrities, and raised millions of dollars to find a cure. He was also an early advocate and promoter of holistic remedies for EB, and even cancer. I remember listening to Luco talk in amazement. He was 5 years younger than I, but had wisdom that was otherworldly. He was having so much fun, as if his body was not a hindrance or inconvenience, and it never stopped him from having a full life until his last day. Luco passed away peacefully at the age of 21. That young man was wise beyond his years and blessed beyond his body. Living a full life is incredibly reliant on your ability to reframe the hand you've been dealt. Everyone is given this opportunity. We cannot control what happens to us in life, but we can control how we react to it. It's all we've got. It's what we can control. To master reframing, you can turn anything that happens to you into something that empowers you. I will explain in the alignment pillar how your soul spends most of your life just learning and figuring out how to use this body, mind, and heart. For this integration chapter, I want to teach you that integrity is about getting the mind and mindset intact to lead a great life. This includes forgiveness, and it is not about the old adage, forgive and forget. Forgiveness has two factors: acceptance and release. You cannot forgive and forget if you refuse to accept that what happened, happened. If you spend your life in judgment, such as blame, shame, hatred, resentment, revenge, envy, and more, you will stay locked in your suffering, confusion, and pain. In the example I chose earlier, I work ever so gently with humans processing sexual abuse to help them accept what happened to them. This can be painful in the moment because they have spent so much of their lives resisting and resenting that they have been violated. It is our own judgment of ourselves that prevents our progress as much as our blame of others. I help them get clear about what happened by going over the facts versus the interpretations of the facts. When I ask my client to tell me what happened, we identify every step of the story as a fact or an interpretation, and this helps them to sort out which is which. This can be challenging to do alone, and I suggest a trusted individual, specifically a professional, to support you in trying this out. There is often a lot of conversation, crying, and realizations that occur at this time, and we do not move forward in the work until the client can acknowledge that they accept that this has happened to them. A key note on forgiveness is that you cannot release what you refuse to accept. You cannot lose something you never had. You cannot fail at something you never try, but you also miss out on the freedom available from the process of acceptance. The beautiful part that I am excited to share with you is that it is nearly instantaneous. Once someone can accept what has happened to them, they can choose to release it. This happens like a sunrise. As we work our way through a completion and forgiveness conversation, the darkness of night begins to fade. The sky becomes lighter and lighter until the first ray of sun peeks over the horizon. In that exact moment, the resistance to the thing has been dropped. Therefore, the image in the mind shifts, and so does the projection of it on your life. All of a sudden, you can see every way of being associated with the old projection. The same way the sun brings everything into view, so does acceptance. You can see relationships and circumstances set up by that projection and realize that it's not who you truly are at all. This is the pivotal point when you become at choice about your circumstance and can choose to release it. Fair warning, some choose to hang on. This simply shows that there is more to accept, which is natural. Completion is a process that takes time. These exercises are intended to accelerate that process, but do not expect this to be an overnight cure. Sometimes you get the whole route. Sometimes you pull too hard and fast. In any sense, this is progress and provides a great deal of relief and hope about your future. Releasing takes on many forms. Here are a few examples to start with. Speaking or announcing what you are releasing out loud as to feel it come out of your body. Journaling to keep or writing to burn. Meditation and breathwork exercises to alchemize the energy. I highly recommend Vipassana. Art to express the feelings felt and or freedom created. Exercise or movement as to exorcise the stagnant energy that has been lodged within you. Acknowledging the self and announcing release of judgment and the act of forgiving. Acknowledging the other or others and announcing release of judgment and the act of forgiving. Acknowledging the higher power and announcing release of judgment and the act of forgiving. Communication of forgiveness with others. Celebration of the newly created freedom and the courage it took to do the work. And many more. Get creative. Just let go. Once you have truly accepted and released, you will feel and know that you have practiced true forgiveness. You will feel it in the framework of your body. For some assistance on this work and to practice with a guided exercise, listen to episode 76 of my Hearts Unleashed podcast, 2 Factors to Forgiveness. By creating the personal experience of forgiveness, you will then have a true understanding of integration. You will sense the difference between going through the motions of forgive and forget and the actual work of alchemizing judgment back into love. This is the difference between burning a bundle of sage and knowing how to clear energies. It is the difference between owning a deck of tarot cards and understanding how to receive their messages. Forgiveness is a concept. It does not apply until you internalize it, own it, integrate it. Integration is the key to any and all of this working for you because that which you know doesn't serve you unless you apply it with intention. I have spent a large portion of the integrity pillar showing you the sides of yourself that you may not have seen, fully understood, or heard articulated in such a way. My commitment in this pillar is to create an abundance of awareness and responsibility so that you realize you are 100% at choice about the quality and direction of your life, the impact that you make, and the legacy that you leave. Part of creating that awareness is shining light into the shadows. Integration is bringing the shadow side of yourself to light in such a way that you can function fully with every single part of you. I personally have a tattoo on my left wrist that represents dancing with every single part of myself. It reminds me that I have one soul and many identities of my ego. It helps me to stay in the driver's seat of my life instead of letting one of my egos drive us far too off track. Some of the egos include my inner children, past selves, future selves, my dark sides, my joy and bliss, my excellence, character versions of me, and many more. To recognize that none of them are you without the entire collection is to respect the totality of who you are as an energetic being having a human experience. So far in this book, I have not referred to the shadow self much. Your shadow is simply made up of the parts of you that you either haven't met yet or purposely look away, hide, judge, or even try to rid yourself of. So far, the example has been the darkness of trauma. There are other, more natural parts of you that you may be embarrassed of or feel threatened by. These are all parts of you that you have to learn to accept, love, and even share them. Integration is learning how to share them in such a way that they facilitate you being empowered in your life and empowering others. Never forget that acceptance and integration are the keys to your freedom. My favorite example of this is being a nudist. I personally love being nude. I love my body. I appreciate my body as the home of my soul, and I love expressing myself in that way. Before fully understanding this, I would judge myself as immature, weird, strange, perverted, overly sexual, an attention whore, and so much more. I realized it didn't bother me as a college athlete where it was natural and predictable. Once entering adulthood, I didn't have the same relationship to it. I only saw it as sexual, and even if it wasn't about sexuality to me, I simply did not give that part of myself attention for many years. Before accepting this underdeveloped part of myself, I didn't necessarily see it as an authentic expression of my being. I saw it as a dysfunctional part of my personality. I thought there was something wrong with me. Specifically in reference to my chosen career paths of teacher, coach, public speaker, and author, I thought there was a certain identity that I must live up to as appropriate, politically correct, morally sound, and more. I feared people would judge me as a bad influence that promotes perversion. Through the process of exploring my body and loving it with grace and gentle kindness, I saw how I was living by someone else's definition of appropriate. When my internal projection changed, so did my reality and my relationship to nudity. I immediately realized how much I appreciate others' bodies and their sensual self-expression. I suddenly understood that I follow leaders on social media who take ownership for and embody their self-love, and that inspired me. I then started to see myself as one of them. This was a beautiful shift for me because I granted myself my own permission to love my body and be at ease with my comfort around nudity. Over the course of exploring my love of being nude, I also explored what it looked like to share that and express it. I practiced dancing in front of the mirror. I practiced being naked outside, in designated areas, of course. I practiced sharing it with others, the concept, not my body, and it was widely accepted. The same way other leaders influenced me, I found out that I was inspiring others who shared their stories of body shame and how I inspired their body acceptance and exploration. I will never forget that a friend messaged me to share that she had taken on her own nude mirror work after hearing one of my shares and had healed a long open wound by reconnecting with her body. It felt fulfilling to take the chance of sharing my true self and finding out that my vulnerability had made a difference for another. It was worth moving far beyond fear and judgment of my personal preferences to get to experience empowering others in such an important way. This is my personal favorite example, and I hope you receive the message that it is safe to be you. It is a narrative of our past projections that it is unsafe to be open, raw, real, vulnerable, and unapologetic. It is safe to be all of you. And most people will love and prefer the realest you have to offer. An added benefit? The breakthrough is that in accepting my nudism, I have become bolder in dozens of other areas of life. That is what I mean by learning to integrate your shadow. You are creating a natural momentum of courage in your life because proving to yourself that living authentically will not kill or destroy you will have you showing up powerfully time and time again. It will have you more willing to discover other parts of you that you didn't know were there. This will lead you toward your totality. This will lead you to feeling whole and complete. And when you do, you will be experiencing yourself as an alchemist. If you know how to use a stove, you can feed yourself for life. If you master your egos, you can be versatile instead of volatile and enjoy the variety of life. This naturally heals your relationship with your worth, intuition, and capability. This is the development of emotional intelligence, and as a result, your frequency will keep spiraling upward. This adds momentum to the cycle of love. More specifically, it will feel like the cycle of self-love, and the destination is Transformation Station. I have been explaining transformation throughout this book, and I want to clarify that the ultimate threshold and last stage of it is transcendence. The guidance for this book is meant to lay out the path toward transcendence. Many people also call this enlightenment, and some get distracted, overwhelmed, or turned off by that concept. To be clear, for as long as you can reference this book, you will be in human form. You will have judgment. You will have egos. You will live on this plane and be of this plane. That means you will have normal human needs that require materials, money, and other contracts of humanity's modes of operation. I was guided to teach you about and lead you towards transcendence in a form applicable to everyday living in modern society. I am not expecting you to become a monk or a nun. I am not encouraging you to donate all of your belongings, leave your family, and become a disciple of anyone. We don't need more gurus sitting in monasteries. We need leaders of the free world facilitating love, compassion, and change amongst us. I am inviting you to transcend your humanness enough to live and lead fully instead of floundering in the distractions this world has to offer. The next two pillars, alignment and faith, will most definitely be about transcending your humanness. Integrity is very human-based. It is very materialistic. It's very purposeful and strategic. In the alignment and faith pillars, we will talk about soul much more than strategy. To wrap up this chapter about integrity, I want to bring back that last stage of transformation, transcendence. At this stage of transformation, the skill is to be the most absolute, unapologetic, unabashed, unleashed version of yourself anywhere, at any time, with anyone, about anything. Let's be particular about what I mean here. This isn't about walking around with two middle fingers up to anyone who has powerful reflection and feedback for you. This is about full-scale integration. This is about recognizing all the parts of you and accepting them fully. It is about exploring the depths of your heart and grounding into your intuition with certainty, clarity, and faith. Existing at this stage of transformation is about not being detoured by doubt, distraction, challenge, or resistance. This level of transformation is about being so sure and certain about who you are as an energetic being that nobody can tell you about yourself. Nobody can shift your relationship with yourself. This isn't about arrogance. It is about being rooted in a truth that only your inner work can reveal to you. It is arriving at a sense of peace with who you are instead of feeling some inherent need to fix or change yourself. Not to be confused with the natural evolution that will occur, but accepting yourself will grant you access to fully accepting everyone else. When you are able to integrate this knowledge with the humility of transformation, you will feel steadfast in your purpose, focus, and direction. It is an incredible sight to see someone faithfully on fire about what they came here to do and follow that inner guidance boldly. In this first half of the book, we have talked through the work of self-discovery, self-development, and self-mastery. This naturally invites you into the stage of complete and utter self-acceptance. This is where you transcend your humanness and integrate the energetic version of you with the material version of you. This is where you put your feet on the ground and start taking steps in your contribution to humanity as the authentic leader that you are. At this stage, you are able to see, own, and share any part of you that you may discover from this point forward. As we transition into the next part of this book, I invite you to shift from an egocentric perspective and into your energetic being, the soul of who you are. What is available to you by taking on integrity is your fulfillment of your soul's purpose on this planet. Integrity is about getting all of your affairs in order, taking full responsibility for your impact, and completing your past in such a way that you set yourself free. So practice releasing your identity as solely you. We are going to close the gaps of separation so that you may lean into your calling, passion, mission, message, and purpose. We will clear as much gunk as possible so that you can be all of you anywhere at any time with anyone about anything. Keep reciting that. Turn it into a tune and it will become the tone of your life. Nothing will be able to stop you. Nothing will be able to detour you. You will be so clear that any perceived threat or setback is simply an invitation to grow, evolve, and alchemize anything that you encounter back into love, swiftly and quickly. Once you do this, you are free to make the biggest difference you are called to make in your life. You will be energetically available to honor the divine guidance that you receive. Something I want you to keep in mind about this work is that when you master yourself, you master the human psyche. If you examine yourself enough, you will be able to draw natural conclusions about human patterns that keep us trapped. This is a gift of the work and is only available through your own singular transformation. This isn't knowledge to study. It is wisdom to ascertain and then create an impact on others by nature of you being an example of the work. As a result of your own integrity, alignment, and faith, you will understand the human condition and how to fully own your role as an alchemist. This is one of your greatest gifts, as you will become a beacon of hope, light, love, and compassion in the world. You will draw people in. You will be able to transmute anything back into love in such a way that people will request your mentorship in creating their own peace and alignment. You will naturally evolve into your personal expression of leadership and craft your own process to teach the magic of alchemy, because as you know, when you take the magic and mysticism out of alchemy and understand the methodology, you can understand the mechanics enough to bring the magic back. It's time to bring the magic back. Thank you for listening to this reading of Alchemizing Judgment. If you enjoyed this reading, please like this video and comment a review below. I also invite you to subscribe to my channel, Abigail Rose Gazda. To read and listen to more of my books, visit abigailgazda.com/books. Thanks for tuning in.